Shalom, 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 shalom. Brother Aaron, awakened kingdom of Zion. First of all, I'd like to give all honor and glory to YAHAWAH, Bahashem, Amashiach Yahawah. Double honors to my elder Mathathawa, and peace and blessings to the brothers and sisters scattered to the four corners of the earth who's keeping these commandments with belief on Amashiach Yahawah. Today's class, I want to do a class on the enemy of our people and the enemy of the world. Okay, so today's class is the enemy of our people and the enemy of the world. Let's get right into it. Genesis chapter 4, verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, Why hast thou done? Thy voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. So right here we see in the beginning, Cain slew his brother Abel. Why? Because he was jealous, envious, and that Abel's sacrifice was accepted by the Most High, and Cain's wasn't. So we're going to see who takes on this spirit right here with slaying and killing their own brother. Let's get Genesis 25. We're going to start at verse 21. Genesis 25, verse 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. Rebekah, Isaac is the son of Abraham. He was praying for a child. Let's see what happened. Verse 22. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I dust? And she went in to inquire of the Lord. Verse 23. And the Lord said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So right here, she's impregnated with twins. She's conceived twins from the beginning. Let's see what happened. Let's drop down to 25. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Right? So the first twin came out red. And remember, in verse 23 said the elder shall serve the younger. So who is the only nation of red people on the planet where the blood actually shows forth through their skin? When they smile, they turn red. When they laugh, they turn red. When they're angry, they turn red. When the sun hits them, they turn red. Who is that? None other but the so-called white man, the European. And God called him Esau. Esau, that means wasted away is he in the Hebrew. Meaning he has no melanin. Let's read on. And it says, and it came to pass, his brother, verse 26, and after that his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. Jacob in the Hebrew means supplanted or uprooted. All right, so we see right here, we're talking about Jacob and Esau. Now we're going to go into some characteristics of Esau, who name later became Edom, which means red. Let's get Genesis 27 and 41. Genesis chapter 27, verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherein his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Now you see, from the very beginning, Esau had the same spirit as Cain because he was jealous, envious. So he said he vowed to slay his brother Jacob. Jacob, who is he? The 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right? So he vowed to slay his brother Jacob. The same spirit of Cain. And let's see who Esau is. Let's go to Genesis chapter, let me see here, chapter 30. Let's go to Genesis chapter 30 and verse 8. Genesis chapter 30. Wait. Shalakia. 36. Genesis 36, verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. So Esau's name got changed to Edom. Why? Edom means red, because the blood shows forth through his skin. There's only one nation of people on the planet like that right now. It's the so-called European or the white man. The blood shows forth through their skin. So they be the nation of Esau, Edom. Okay. Okay, let's get Exodus chapter 17 and verse 13. Exodus chapter 17, verse 13. I'm going to show you some characteristics of some of the sons of Edom, Esau, Edom. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Amalek is one of the offspring of Esau. And the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book. What book? This Holy Bible. And rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. You see that? Amalek is a so-called Jewish man today. That's his nationality, Amalek. The one who inhabits the land of Israel today through the Balfour Agreement. Not through the Most High, through the Europeans and Americans coming together and putting them in the land back in the 40s. Right? So, verse 15, and Moses built an altar and called the name of it Jehovah Nissi. For he said, because the Lord have sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. And right now, we're in the last of the generations. And we will have war with Amalek, the so-called Jewish man. That's who keeps and pushes our people into captivity. They have us accept small roles in their movie scenes, always making the so-called black man look like a criminal. You understand? This is just part of it. Let me continue on, because I could go on. Let's get Deuteronomy 28, verse 49. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. Characteristics of Esau. Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Now, it said he shall be swift as the eagle flieth. We didn't understand the tongue of the so-called European when he came over here to parts of Africa, selling our people all throughout the world, right? And his symbol was the eagle. What's the symbol of Greece? The eagle. Rome, the eagle. This lets you know who the enemy of God is, Esau, Edom. What's the symbol of Russia? Eagle. Spain, eagle. France, eagle. Germany, eagle. America, eagle. Right? Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. Even to this day, they don't regard the person of the old. They beat up our old women in America, in Babylon the Great, shoot and kill young brothers 9 to 10, 11, 12 years old. They handle our children like they're adults. These people have no regard for us as a nation of people. All right, let's get 1 Samuel chapter 21. 1 Samuel 21 and start at verse 7. No. Shalakia. I'm in 2 Samuel. 1 Samuel 21 verse 7. That's correct. It says, and it reads, now a certain man of the servants of Saul was there that day, detained before the Lord, and his name was Dov, an Edomite, the chiefest among the herdmen that belonged to Saul. See, we had a kingdom set up. We only ruled specifically probably 80 years or so under King David and King Solomon. Even under Saul, we were coming into our own. So the Edomites were in subjugation to us as a nation, basically our servants. So here we have one named Dov the Edomite. Let's see the characteristics of the Edomite. Let's get a jump over to 1 Samuel 22 verse 18. And it reads, and the king said to Dov, turn thou and fall upon the priests. And Dov the Edomite turned and fell upon the priests and slew on that day 75 persons that did wear a linen ephod. So here's the spirit of Dov the Edomite, the so-called white man. What did he do? He put his hands against the Lord's anointed and killed them. What type of person would do that? Only someone that's wicked. Our people will be afraid to put their hands upon the priest of our people, but not Dov the Edomite. This is from the beginning to show you who they are as a nation of people. Okay? Let's get Esther 3 and verse 1. Esther chapter 3, verse 1. One moment. There we go. Esther chapter 3, verse 1. And it reads, After these things, the king Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So who is Haman of Hammedatha, the Agagite? He comes out of the lineage of King Agag, the one that King Saul did not kill. And he disobeyed the Most High, and the Most High took the heritage from Saul's lineage and put it in Judah. So who is this? He's an Edomite. One of the offsprings of Esau, Edom. Let's jump over. Let's read Esther 7 and 6. And Esther chapter 7, verse 6. And Esther said, the adversary and the enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. Our foremother Esther called this Edomite the wicked. And not just him and all his people. And this is just the beginning of the Edomites infiltrating the Medo-Persia empire. Because when we get to the Maccabees, they're going to take them down. So you see, Esau Edom has always been an enemy of our people, to include the world. And let's get Psalms 137, verse 7. Let's see how much time. Okay, Psalms 137, verse 7. And we're going to come back to this scripture. Right now, I just want to bring out something small. Psalms 137, verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. In that day of Jerusalem, who said, race it. That means tear it down, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who ought to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dashes thy little ones against the stone. So the Most High God say, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. Why? Because even when we came out of we were going into the Babylonian captivity, right? Guess who was behind the old and young killing them as we were trying to flee from the Babylonians? That's right, the so-called white man, Esau Edom. From his very existence, back in Genesis 27, that spirit that Esau had, say he was going to slay his brother Jacob. That has passed down through his generations, through all of his seed, all of his lineage. And not some of them, all of them. All of them. Just like it reads in Jeremiah 30:16. All of them shall go into captivity. Let's read on. Let's get Amos chapter 1, verse 11. Amos chapter 1, verse 11. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof. So the Most High is not turning away the punishment from the nation of Edom. This is a prophecy. And therefore, because he did pursue his brother with the sword. You see that? And did cast off all pity. In his anger did tear perpetually. And he kept his wrath forever. That's why you can look into America today and see how they gunning down our young black men and women. Coming into our homes unannounced. Killing our people while they're in their sleep. And they hold themselves not guilty. This is the nation of Esau, Edom. We're reading about this man. And it's undeniable who he is. He's the red nation. That red dragon in Revelation. Okay. Let's get Joel 3. Joel chapter 3. And let's start at verse... Let me get there real quick. Joel chapter 3. Scripture. We're going to start at verse 4. Joel 3 and 4. One moment. There you go. Joel chapter 3, verse 4. It says, yea, what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? Those are 2 Hamite nations in Africa, northern Africa. And all the coast of Palestine, those be the Arabs. Will you render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. What did they carry into their temples? The Most High God compares the Israelites to silver and gold. They took us away in slavery, in captivity. Verse 7. Verse 6. The children of Judah, see, And the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. This is a prophecy. They sold us to the so-called white man. The so-called Africans and the Arabs sold us to the white man. Right here. That ye might remove them far from their borders. You see? One moment. So you see, that's talking about the sub-Saharan slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, the Silk Road slave trade, any other slave trade that may not have been mentioned in history. The Arabs and the so-called Africans, certain of them, sold the Israelites into slavery. To the Grecian, the so-called white man, prophesied in Joel. Let's get another. Let's get to the Greek captivity. Let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 6. And if you're a Christian and you're watching this video, this is called the Apocrypha, right? These 14 books were taken out of the Bible in the 1700s or so by the Protestants, who are the so-called white people. Because this book here reveals who Esau Edom is. That's right. That's what it reveals them as a nation of people. Let's get to it. 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. And in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus. Moreover, there went out a decree to neighboring cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then a man might have seen the present misery. So even here in the Maccabean period, the Greek captivity, our people were being put to death. By who? Who was the Grecians? The so-called white man. That's right. He said if we didn't follow his ways or the ways of the heathen, that means don't keep the law, statutes, and commandments, put up Sunday as the day of worship, follow all type of revelings and feasts that they set up, and worship birthdays, which is idol worship, that he will put us to death. So we have been pursued by Esau Edom from his very existence, going through the Babylonian, Medo-Persian, down to the Greek. You see what I'm saying? Roman captivity and / aka American captivity, transatlantic slave trade, all the way until today. And he's been doing the same thing. When a man show you himself, you got to believe it. That is his modus operandi. Let's get 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 7. Let's see. 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 7. So Alexander ruled 12 years and then he died. Who's this? We're talking about Alexander the Greek, or the freak, right? Who was a Grecian. And his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so that their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. You see that? Evils were multiplied in the earth. All evil proceeded out of the so-called white man, who was of the nation of Esau Edom. And let me read verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. That's under the Roman Empire. Who crucified the Messiah? Who crucified the Mashiach YAHAWAH? The so-called Roman, right? The so-called white man, who was Esau Edom, that red nation. That's right. Let's get Job 9:24. Job chapter 9, verse 24. And it reads, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Who rules the world today? Who controls all the transportation around the globe, from the airway to the seaways, even in outer space? Who controls the airways, radios, TV stations, newspapers? You got that right. The diamond industry. Who controls the money, whether it goes up and down, Wall Street, all these things? You got that right. The nation of Esau Edom. Say he covered the faces of the judges. Who are the judges? The judges of the nation of Israel. So instead of all the Israelites being so-called black people, now they're all so-called white. even the Messiah himself. Now let's just talk a little bit about Esau, Edom for a second. We know that most people think that Europe belongs to the so-called white man. You'd be mistaken. Japhetic people used to inhabit that land, meaning people of the nation, say like the Samoans, the Togans, the people from Guam, Hawaiians, New Zealanders. Those are the Japhetic people who lived in that area. The Minoans. So let me read one thing. Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. Let me show you something real quick. 1 Maccabees 1 and 1. It says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who's another name for Esau, Edom, Grecian, Idumean. The Macedonian came out of the land of Chittim and had smitten Darius, the king of Persia and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. So Philip, the son of Alexander the Freak, right? He was over in Chittim, which is in Europe, conquering the Japhetic people, a dark people. That's who was in the land of Europe before the so-called white man inhabited it, right? So right there at the beginning, you see that the white man is on a spree to conquer. He's the only nation that says he's going to go out and conquer people, right? So after that, let me just go into some things. So I want to break it to the people here in Africa. The name Africa is not the original name of this land. This was called the land of Ham, right? But how did we get this name over here in this land? By none other than the so-called white man. You had a war between Hannibal and Luis Scipios Africanus, a Roman general, around 100 or so BC. And in the Second Punic Wars, Scipios Africanus defeated Hannibal, who was an Israelite, and he named this land Africa. So by you calling yourself African, just another byword for another so-called Edomite, right? Who conquered the Philippines? Follow me. Who conquered the Philippines? The Spaniards, and split and killed millions of them. Who did that? Who split the Koreas up? North and South Korea. Killed millions of those people. Who did that? You're going to see a theme here. Who went to Vietnam and split the Vietnamese up from the North and South and killed millions of them? Who did that? Huh? Who split China up? Who went to China killing millions of China? Put them in subjugation. India. Who did that? Malaysia. Who did that? Indonesia. Thailand. Huh? Who did that? Who come to the Americas killing all of our Arawak brothers, so-called Puerto Ricans? Who killed all our brothers over there? Over 77 million of them. Christopher Cologne, that's right. Christopher Cologne, a so-called Jewish man out of the seed of Amalek. You see that? Millions. Who named America the name America? Amerigo's Vespucci, another Edomite, so-called white man. Who went to Iraq, killed all the Iraqis? Even today. Who in Afghanistan killing the people today? What nation of people is doing this? It's not the Chinese. It's not the East Indian. It's not the Arab. It's not the so-called black man. It's not the African. Who is it? Who's troubling this world? And who's troubled our people? Who went to Grenada, bombed the people, killed thousands of people down there in Grenada? Our South American brothers. Panama. Who did that? What about King Leopold from Belgium? What did he do over here in the land of Africa? Cutting off tens of millions of people's hands, killing tens of millions of our brothers and sisters over here. He's an Edomite. Who went to New Zealand? Wherever the so-called white man sits, he's not from there. You got to ask yourself, where is he from? Who went to New Zealand and kicked out the people out of New Zealand and he's sitting in their seat? Who went to Australia, kicked out the indigenous people and they're sitting there? Who went to South Africa? Africa, and sit in their seat as the nation of people over there? Who did that? That's right, the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, the one who had the same spirit as his forefather, Cain. That's right, same spirit. Who set up a space force? I almost forgot about that. Who set up a space force to fight against the Mashiach YAHAWAH upon his return? The Chinese ain't setting up no space forces. The Israelites ain't setting up no space force. It's the devil. The children of the darkness, the children. Who's Satan's children? the nation of Esau, Edom, that red nation. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. And here's another myth we're going to debunk. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weakest the nations? Now, you go to Christian church, they tell you Lucifer is an angel. He rebelled against God. We're going to see if that's the truth or not. And he has weakened the nation. Let's go over to Isaiah chapter 14, verse 16. It says, they that shall see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man? Again, is this the man that made the earth to tremble and that did shake kingdoms? Who shook kingdoms? I just went through a list, and there's many more that I didn't even go through. The nation of Esau, Edom shook kingdoms, raped, robbed, murdered, pillaged everybody on the planet. But today, his eye is set on the nation of Israel. You see that? That's the enemy of God and all those who join themselves to them. Is this the man? Lucifer is a man. Lucifer is the so-called white man. Esau, Edom. Let's get Isaiah 25 and 7, because that's in the physical. Let's see about him in the spiritual. Isaiah 25, verse 7. And he will destroy in this mountain, meaning in this nation of people, the face of covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. So the nation of Esau, Edom has wizardry, the best witchcraft you can name over all the people of the world, to believe that lie. People believe that this nation of people is God. They set themselves up as God during our slavery and set up a fake image of Caesar Borgia, the second son of Pope Alexander VI of Rome, as the new Jesus Christ, and gave it to our people. Not only our people, they gave it to the whole world. Christmas celebrated throughout the whole planet. Christmas is. Doesn't matter if you Islam, Buddhist, you all celebrate it. That's the covering cast. That's okay. Mashiach YAHAWAH going to tear that down, including the prophets. That's why we're here today preaching. Okay? And who gave us all the religions while we were in slavery? The author of every single religion is the so-called white man. Esau, Edom. Pentecostal, Presbyterian, Methodist, Seventh-day Adventist. Mormons. It doesn't matter where you go. The so-called white man set himself up as our God while we were in slavery, in captivity. He is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Let's get Revelation chapter 17. We're going to start at verse 1. Revelation 17, verse 1. I'm going to wrap it up. And it reads, and there came one of the seven angels which had seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Who is that great whore? The great whore is Babylon the Great, Esau, Edom. How do they sit on many waters? They're in every country in the world with their military bases, embassies. That's how. Through their military rule. Verse 2, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Right, through their philosophies, democracy. All the lies and wizardry that Esau, Edom pushes out, all the nations believe in it. Let me drop down. Verse 5, and upon her head was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and an abomination of the earth. Mystery Babylon the Great. Let's go to Psalms 137, verse 7 again. I told you I would revisit this. Let's go back there. Mystery Babylon the Great. Psalms chapter 137, verse 7. And it reads, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. Edom, the so-called white race. In that day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon. You see what the Most High God is calling the nation of Edom? That red nation, the so-called white man. O daughter of Babylon. Now let's go back to Revelation 17. And upon her head was a name written, Mystery Babylon. It's a mystery because the white man, so-called white man, has set himself up to be Jesus Christ. That great delusion spoken of in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2. You see that? That's the great delusion. Him setting himself up to be our Lord and Savior and the Most High God, taking pictures naked. Who does that? Huh? Who does that? One moment. And here's more characteristics of the so-called white man. Let's get Revelations 18. We're going to start at verse 11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. This is when, aka America, Babylon the Great, is going to be destroyed with all of the so-called nation of Edom, wherever they sit. They all going to be destroyed together upon the Mashiach Yahawa's return. It's verse 12. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and thin and wood and all manner of vessel of ivory and all manner of vessels of the most precious wood and of brass and of iron and marble and of cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. Who sold slaves and souls of men around the earth? Particularly starting around the 1500s, up until around the early to mid 1900s. Spain, France, Germany, Russia, Dutch, all the Europeans. But when they're destroyed, men are gonna be signed. They're gonna be hurt because they can't trade with Babylon the Great anymore. So right here, we know who the nation of Esau Edom is. Let me get one in the part. Let's get 2nd Esdras 6 and 9. 2nd Esdras chapter 6, verse 9. And it reads, it says, for Esau is the end of the world. Who's the end of the world? Who's ruling right now? For Esau is the end of the world. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. Why Jacob? Because our Lord and Savior, Mashiach Yahawaah, comes out of the tribe of Judah, which is one of the tribes of the nation of Israel. We gonna rule. We got next. That's right. Let me get Revelations 2 and 9. Because a lot of y'all don't believe that Esau Edom is the devil. But the Bible tells you who the devil is. Revelations chapter 2, verse 9. It says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Who's he talking about? The real Jews, the real Israelites. We're rich because the promises are for us, as it explains in Romans chapter 9. It says, and I know the blasphemy, a wicked lie, of them that say they are Jews. Who say they're Jews today? Amalek, one of the tribes of Esau Edom, so-called white man. He says, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. What did the Most High God call those people over there in the land today? The synagogue of Satan. If you go to Luke 21:24, there's a prophecy saying that the Gentiles are going to trodden down the land until the Messiah returns. Who's in that land today? Esau Edom. Who put them in that land? America and Europe under the Balfour Agreement. That's who put them in that land. Verse 10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. What did the Most High say about these people? The devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. So who casting all our brothers in America in prison right now today? Over 6 million of so-called black men are in prison. And that's excluding our brothers from the northern kingdom. Blacks, Hispanics, and natives. Millions and millions of us, our people, are in prison. Who's doing that? The nation of Esau Edom. Who has prisons set up all around the world for renditions? The nation of Esau Edom. That's right. Let's get Hebrews chapter 12, because some of y'all may be joined with Esau Edom that may watch this video. Well, I got a message for you. Matter of fact, here's the message. Let's get Proverbs 16. Here's the message for you if you are joined with Esau Edom. One moment. I'm going to get Proverbs 11. That's a better one. All right. Proverbs 11, verse 21. Though hand join in hand, So you may be joined with them. The wicked, according to Malachi 1 and 4, Job 9:24, Esau is the wicked. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. Who is the righteous? The nation of Israel. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Those who keep the law, statutes, and commandments with belief on YAHAWAH at this very end. We're going to be delivered. But that wicked, join hand, they still going to be punished. So don't be joined with them, because in that day, the sword, you will get thrust through too with the sword, meaning you will die. Let's go back to Hebrews chapter 12, verse 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau. There it is. He's profane, meaning wicked. His spirit is not upright in him. It's crooked. Who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. No, Jacob didn't steal it. It says, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. Another wicked lie they pushed throughout Christianity. Verse 17. For ye know that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So the nation of Esau, Edom, is going to be set up just like it reads in Romans 9. Just like Pharaoh was set up, and God showed his power by destroying the Egyptians, and they've never rose since that day. He's doing the same thing with the nation of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. They're being set up upon a Mashiach's return. This is going to be the worst case of slaughter in the history of mankind when the Messiah comes back. He's not coming back to hold hands and hand out roses. Read Revelations 19, around verse 11 and 12. He's coming to judge and make war. So the nation of Esau, Edom will be destroyed. Who is the nation of Esau, Edom? They are an reincarnation of Cain. That same spirit. They hate their brother. They have a perpetual hatred for us, as it reads in Amos chapter 1, verse 10. That red nation. So with that, I pray that there was some edification in this video for those who may be watching for the first time. And I'd like to say, Barakathan Yahawah, Barakathan Yahawashi, Shalom, 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 Shalom.
Ya Baraka, Ya Baraka, Yahawah, Yahawah, Yashamaka, Yashamaka, Yahawah, 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 Hanyawa al Yak, Hanyawa al Yak, Yachanka, Yachanka, Yahawah, Yahawah.